Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we're going to talk about the Dark Angels and the Blood Angels, Sanguinius and the Lion. I'm going to talk about them because they have their codexes coming out next. They are next in line for a codex release, so if you are a Dark or Blood Angels player, then congratulations. You get your, I nearly said you get your shit real soon, but I don't know why I'd phrase it like that. But that's exactly what I mean. So you get your stuff real soon. And also, Chaos Demons players, you are going to be the first codex of 2018, which is pretty cool. Now, the first thing actually, just before we go into the main meat of the video, which is talking about Sanguinius and the Lion, whether they will in fact come back or not. Yes, I am including Sanguinius in that. We'll get to that in a minute. I have to admit, I am slightly surprised because I thought we'd see Space Wolves before Blood Angels. I genuinely thought we'd see Space Wolves before Blood Angels. I don't know whether that's because Space Wolves seem to have been a bit more prominent recently. The whole Magnus versus Space Wolves, turning up, bringing the Planet of the Sorcerers into real space and giving Fenris a real hard fucking. I kind of assumed that Space Wolves would be before, but apparently not. Especially since we had things like the Wolfen, and I mean, it wasn't realistically, it wasn't that long ago that we got Logan Grimnar's hilarious Father Christmas sled. So, I am surprised. Tangent off of that tangent. Does anyone like the Wolfen models? I mean, I realised the last time I expressed my severe disdain for a particular set of models, it didn't go well. The like to dislike ratio on that Reavers video is not nice to look at. But I really can't handle there's something about the poses. There's sort of somewhere between a ballet dancer and like a ninja, kind of like that. I don't know what is going on with the poses for the new Wolfen, especially since, back in the day, I had a Codex Eye of Terror 13th Company Space Wolf army, where you couldn't have vehicles. I believe it was a hard limit of 750 points worth of units per HQ choice. You have 3 HQ choices, so you were kind of limited as to how big your army could actually get. And the Wolfen models for that were quality. They weren't as kind of big, they weren't as bombastic, they didn't have massive weapons or storm shields or anything, but they looked properly feral. And they had a nice pose to them. Admittedly, they were metal, so they were god-awful to paint, and I hated them. But the actual models themselves were kind of cool. That aesthetic seems to have just disappeared from the new ones, which I don't like. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, Blood Angels and Dark Angels. Anyway, so, Sanguinius and the Lion. Reasonably, despite the fact that we haven't seen anything in terms of hints as to the Lion's return just yet, I would assume that if we are going to see another Primarch release before the end of the year, it would be the Lion. Now, I have to admit, I'm not massively confident that we will see the Lion before the end of the year, simply because we haven't really seen anything in the way of 100% leaks with this stuff. Don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of rumours about Dark Angels. Hell, I was reading rumours about Dark Angels for the last couple of weeks, one of which it seemed like a wish list, and so I sort of disregarded it out of hand, which I probably shouldn't have done because they were right. Dark Angels are next up. But there were images of Mortarion floating around for, I want to say, a good couple of months, maybe even more, before he was actually released. They were really crappy low-res images. In fact, they weren't really images at all. The one that I found, or the one that I had saved, was literally a screenshot of a folder with some images in it, which, that's tenuous at best, but it turned out to match the profile of Mortarion exactly. Same thing with Magnus. I'm pretty sure we had a couple of interesting leaks, genuine leaks, as to Magnus's size or appearance before he came out. There's been nothing that concrete for the Lion. I seem to remember a rumour engine thing a while ago that was it looked like a lion shoulder plate, which, again, you could look at that and go, well, surely that would be the Lion. Maybe not necessarily. The Stormcast Eternals have a fair amount of that kind of iconography going on, and I'm pretty sure that the Stormcast Eternal Neve Blacktalon model has some kind of lion-ish shoulder pad. I think it's that one. It might be one of the ones out of the Shadespire box, actually. But that's kind of, again, that's not 100%. That's not it is kind of rumour-ish. It still counts as a rumour, even when Games Workshop starts it themselves, but it's nothing concrete. Now, I would like the Lion to be next up, and it would make sense for the Lion to be released alongside the Dark Angels Codex. Obviously, that would make more sense than him showing up like next year or just out in the middle of nowhere. But the lack of concrete leaks, the lack of kind of in-progress pictures, the lack of anything like that, kind of suggests to me that maybe he won't be on his way, which would be a real shame, because, as we've already said, I personally am not big on the idea of us having a load of demon Primarchs wandering about the galaxy with only Guilliman to stand against them, because the problem is that Guilliman will always stand against them. That's just how the universe works, that's how Games Workshop goes about writing the lore, and he's already faced Magnus, and he came out alive, miraculously. He is going to end up facing Mortarion, at which point he will come out alive, miraculously. If we then, because there's the other side of things, there have been rumours regarding who would be the next Primarch as being Fulgrim, or was it Pachurabo, or was it Angron being next? One of those three, but a lot of the stuff that I've seen recently kind of points to Fulgrim. Again, this is one of those things where I haven't really reported on this stuff, or reported on, so some sort of journalistic thing. I haven't made videos about this stuff just because there's no compelling evidence for me. Now, obviously, rumours don't need compelling evidence to be rumours, but if I'm going to bring something to you and invest the time and the effort to really look into it, I want there to be at least some, like, a scrap of meat to grip onto, something to really look at, something to make what can only be described as a hopefully informed judgment call as to whether that thing is accurate or not. And the stuff for Fulgrim, it's a lot of that kind of very common brand of rumour, which is someone I know spoke to someone who works for Games Workshop, or I was talking to a store manager in Cardiff, or, you know, stuff that on the face of it is like, oh well, they're part of Games Workshop. Yeah, but the dude working at the Games Workshop in Birmingham is not going to know what is going on in the design team's office at Nottingham. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it is plausible, it is possible, but where's the actual evidence outside of someone said? And that's why quite often I don't talk about that stuff, just because it's too tenuous. Now, at the moment, the two conflicting rumours that I keep seeing are Fulgrim and the Lion. On a personal level, if it were to be one of the two, and I'm not saying that it is necessarily one of the two, but if it were to be one of the two, I would hope that it's the Lion, because, as I say, I cannot be having a bunch of demon Primarchs wandering around, beating the shit out of Guilliman, and then having him be miraculously rescued every time, or doing something tactical genius-like and getting out of a sticky situation. It would become boring very, very quickly, and the Primarchs, although they are back, and by being back, lose a bit of that special status that they once had, the kind of absent hero vibe that we used to get from them. You don't want to replace that kind of status of demigods with, oh, well, they just kind of fight each other and then leave. You don't want to replace the interesting with the mundane, you know? And that's a very real risk. So if we did see Fulgrim come back, then undoubtedly, once Guilliman has fought Mortarion, he'd go away and fight Fulgrim, and he'd win that fight as well. Or at least it would be a draw, because neither of them would die, but neither of them would really achieve anything either. I don't think the setting needs any of that. I think the overall setting as it is enough of it's a bit of a draw in that everyone loses kind of situation anyway. We don't need that kind of distilled into every Primarch on Primarch encounter. The Lion coming back would be a lot more sensible for me. It would make a lot more sense. I mean, for a start, you would even out a little bit the imbalance between the Demon Primarchs and the normal Primarchs. Now, this is actually another discussion that we might have some other time, where, for me, the Demon Primarchs are just blatantly more powerful than standard Primarchs. They are the Primarchs, but now they've got, like, Nurgle Infestation, or they're the size of an Imperial Knight with a vast psychic potential, probably even bigger than they had before. they are a cut above the Primarchs. The Primarchs were already demigods. Demon Primarchs, they're above that for me personally. Now, I know some of you disagree with that. That's absolutely fine, not a problem. It's an interesting discussion to have, so we may well have that discussion at another time. But that to me would even out that, even if it's only a perceived imbalance, having the Lion come back. It would also, the Lion coming back, I would hope, do something to make the kind of the new reign of the Primaris a bit more interesting, because whilst it is all very well having brand new crusades going out and, you know, hundreds of new chapters being formed and a new age for the Imperium where we'll stand fast against chaos, blah blah blah, that only works for so long before again it starts to get stale, it starts to get dull. The Lion coming back could very well shake things up, because let's face it, the Dark Angels, they're not all that keen on telling people what's going on. They're a little bit secretive. By the way, just to throw this out there, I just want you to know that I was all prepared to make a joke about how I thought we'd already had the Chaos Codex come out, and so it was surprising to see it coming out again. I didn't make that joke. I could have done, but I didn't. I left it alone. I'm just throwing it out there. Although by mentioning it, I have therefore nullified the fact I didn't make that joke at the beginning, because I've told it anyway. Whatever, what are you going to do? So, the Lion coming back would be better. I think that would be better for the setting. I think it would be better in terms of storytelling, because it could introduce a bit of friction. It could introduce a little bit of infighting in the Imperium itself. It might wash away a bit of that kind of new squeaky clean, the Primaris are great at everything, if the Dark Angels suddenly start to maybe do their own thing, but with Primaris. That would be good. Not just with Primaris, but with the blessing of their Primarch, because let's face it, out of the two of them, they're going to be more inclined to do what the Lion says over what Gilliman says, and that would be cool. Whether we'd see some sort of crazy secessionist movement where the Lion would be like, I'm taking my Dark Angels and I'm making my own Imperium, I don't think we'd see that. It would be interesting if it did happen, because it would kind of, I guess, not come out of nowhere, but it would be a little bit mental, a little bit crazy. Having the Lion turn up and try to take the mantle of War Master, now that would be quality, but that's never going to happen. That's basically how I feel about that. The Lion would be good. Makes sense to see him alongside the Dark Angels Codex, but we haven't really seen anything about him so far, so whether he will actually arrive or not is kind of up in the air. I'm leaning towards we're not going to see him. I would like to, but I don't think we are. If we are, Games Workshop I think are doing a very good job in trying to keep stuff like leaks down in relation to that. I have seen people say, well, if it was the Lion coming back now, surely there'd be a big fanfare, they'd mention it, they'd announce it, they'd be like, hey, the Lion's coming back. Something that I don't know whether they've thought of, and they probably have, because they're professional at this now. Their community team are really pretty good. It would be interesting for the Lion's return to be a bit more covert, to be a little bit more secretive, to be a little bit more kind of just the odd hint here and there, and then it's, oh shit, the Lion is back. That would fit his character quite well. That would fit the Dark Angel's character quite well. Whether you could pull that off, given that Games Workshop as a whole leaks like a sieve, I don't know, but that would be pretty neat. Sanguinius. I've seen a couple of people talk about Sanguinius coming back. Now, Sanguinius is in a bit of a weird position, because he is dead. I mean, the Lion isn't dead. The Lion kind of got away a little bit better than, say, Gilliman or Sanguinius. For instance, Gilliman basically had to die to then come back again. Resurrected, essentially, and is now in his hilarious life support armour. The Lion, not quite that bad. Sanguinius, he's in the golden sarcophagus. It's slightly transparent. You can see the glorious figure within, etc., etc. Has he been in stasis? I'm sure I've read somewhere that he, in fact, his body has been kept in stasis. The golden sarcophagus is essentially a stasis machine. And when the Blood Angels do their lovely little blood rituals and all of that shit that they like messing about with, it's his blood that is used. Now, you'd only really get that if the body was intact, or at least as intact as it was when Horus left it, and had a bit of juice left in it. It does kind of open it up to the possibility of the Eldar showing up, the Ynnari showing up to be specific, and having a little mess about. I don't think it's actually that implausible. I mean, I've seen plenty of people say that they wouldn't like it if he did come back. That's a different argument entirely. I think Sanguinius coming back is actually a bit more plausible than some people assume. It would be a bit out of left field. It would definitely take a fairly large shit on the lore as most people know it, especially since it would kind of make the flaw with the Blood Angels a bit nonsensical, unless Games Workshop wanted to write something in whereby Sanguinius is so badly affected by what Horus did that he himself has this flaw, and therefore, etc., etc. You can see where I'm going with that. Sanguinius coming back soon, I think, is entirely unlikely. The number of times I've looked through these rooms the last couple of weeks, and there's always been one voice going, I think it'll be Sanguinius. I don't think it will be. I think you've got a 0 chance of that happening. A 0% chance. 0 out of 100, 1,000, a million. Sanguinius is not coming back with the Blood Angels. I would be beyond immeasurably shocked if that turned out to be true. There's a low chance of the Lion, although it would make sense. I don't know. I think, really, I'm mostly expecting just 2 codexes, to be honest. The Lion is kind of a wish list thing. It'd be nice to see him come back. I think it'd be a sensible thing to do. I think it would work to bring him out with the codex, obviously. Will it happen? I honestly don't know. I'm kind of suspect not. I think we'll probably see both codexes come out. I really do fear that we're going to see another Demon Primarch before we see another Loyalist Primarch. And then we might end up seeing the Lion come back sometime next year. I hope I'm wrong about all of this, and this is entirely all speculation. This is just general rambling about what could and might and probably will not happen, but I don't know. I kind of can't shake the idea that getting excited about the Lion coming out in December, or at least the time that the codexes are released, might be a little bit premature. Although I do hope I'm wrong. The question is, what do you reckon? Do you reckon the Lion will come back? Do you think you'd like seeing Sanguinius back, or would that be garbage? Do you think we should have another Loyalist Primarch before another Demon Primarch, or do you not really care which because you play Tau anyway? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you like the video, then like it. There's a bunch of other shit to click. Click it if you like, subscribe, Patreon, all that other stuff. Do what you like. And I will see you for the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Toodaloo.